Of the July 18th be safe through the night. If you would, let me say this, we do have a quorum. Let me announce to you that this is us for tonight. We have one vacancy because Larry Bird has moved out of town and resigned his seat, and we'll be filling that probably at our next meeting. And then Laura Cromer let me know today and let April know that she wasn't going to be able to be here tonight. So we do have a quorum. It's 5 of us. It'll take 4 to pass anything. So that doesn't change. All right, if you would, if you'll bow with me, we'll have a word of prayer and then we'll get into our business. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for yet another opportunity to come together with the people of our community and try to do the things that they want to see done, Lord. We're thankful to live in such a great community. We're thankful that you've kept us all safe, and we pray that you'll continue to do that. Lord, we know there are those among us tonight that have health issues, others that are can't be with us tonight because of health issues, but we pray that you'll be with them, bless them, and keep them safe from harm. Now, we'll go with us and forgive us of our many sins. Amen. All right, we got 2 sets of minutes, folks. First one is the special call meeting of June 15, where we approved the budget and the tax rate on first reading. And we need to approve those minutes.
Motion approved.
On that one, we had one mistake on it. It was, it wouldn't say something about the county, it's supposed to be the city.
Okay, we need to fix that then. You got that, April? All right. Well, then you make a motion with that correction. Is there a second? All right, discussion? Not all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that one's approved. And we had the minutes from the last meeting. Those were considerably longer, one of the longer meetings we've had in a while. But we need to approve those as well.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, let me make some comments here about how things will proceed tonight and from now on, unfortunately. In my 40 years as mayor, when we gather tonight, if you came to a meeting and you wanted to talk to us, we'd let you talk. Sometimes you speak up in the middle of the meeting or whatever. You know, we're all home folk. You've heard me say before, if I don't let people talk here, they'll follow me home and talk to me. So I might as well let them talk here. But the state passed a new law effective July 1, one of 2 new laws that affect us, and that is that we are required to have a public comment period now, which we've always had. We're also required to make you sign up before you can speak. And you can only speak on items germane to the agenda. Now, we're not going to follow those tonight. We will, in the future we'll have to, but we didn't put a sign-up sheet out. So we're going to proceed pretty close to how we've done it in the past. I'll probably get criticized and somebody will go somewhere and say I broke the law, but I'm not going to cut. We'll start that next month. But let me read for you what we are going to do. It's the statement that we're going to live with, and it will say, when you address us, please state your name and address. Your topic must be specific in nature and should be addressed to the chair. The chair or the council reserves the right to terminate remarks at any time that a speaker fails to adhere to the guidelines, or that the speaker's comments become abusive to an individual city council member, the board as a whole, the mayor, or any employee of the city of Watertown. The council or the mayor shall have no obligation to respond. At the conclusion of your remarks, the mayor and any city councilman should have the privilege to ask questions or respond. Your remarks will be limited to 3 minutes, with the city recorder or her designee keeping the time. Now, show you how old-fashioned I am, I asked April yesterday to get us an egg timer so we could keep up with it. I don't know if they still have those or not, but she's got something over there we'll do. But anyway, we're going to go into the public comments. I promise you I'm going to hush about this in just a minute. But I will tell you, we have 2 zoning matters tonight, and we gotta have public hearings on those. So those will come a little later in the meeting. So if you're here to comment on that, you probably don't need to comment right now until we get to that part of the public hearing on the zoning matters. But if you've got any other issue you wanna bring to us tonight, step up to the podium, give us your name and address, and tell us what you've got on your mind.
Of course, the zoning issue, that
Uh,
concern.
All right, well, I'll close this public comment part. I kind of thought everybody here was probably on the zoning matters. Now, I'm going to ask you to bear with me for a few minutes. I know y'all probably don't like to stay at meetings very long, but there's some things been going on in this community and some things that have been said that I'm going to address tonight. And I'm going to address them straightforward, and I'm going to address and talk about things that need to be talked about. Let me get my notes here. There is a lot of misinformation out there floating around. And y'all know what misinformation means. That's just a fancy word for a 4-letter word that starts with an L. But I'll call it misinformation to keep this clean tonight. It's coming from 3 disgruntled former employees, and I'll get into the specifics of that here in a few minutes. Each of them has an axe to grind with me and with our community. They have taken this misinformation to Facebook and to talk radio. Those employees are Eric Austin, Donna Gray, and Lee Lassiter. None of those 3 are residents of this city. 2 of them don't even live in this county. And here they are trying to tell us that have lived here all our life what we ought to be doing in Watertown. What precipitated this? And I'll tell you what started it. The city council voted last year about this time to give retention bonuses for employees. We gave the amount. It was a pretty fair amount, I thought. And we gave half of it on December 31, and to get the other half, you had to be an employee here on June 30. Mr. Austin and Ms. Gray submitted their resignations effective June 30. Now, I wonder why they picked that day, so they could get the retention bonuses. But then I moved Mr. Austin up, and his job ended on May the 31st because of some things I'll get into in a few minutes. But he did some things that are not acceptable in this community, and I did not feel like he ought to take taxpayers' money, and I stopped it. Now, that's what started it. I got into his pocketbook. But that's not his money. That's not, well, let me back up. It is some of my money. I'm a taxpayer here. But it's taxpayer dollars. I want to deal with 3 of the things that are being said on Facebook. And y'all know Facebook, well, you don't know my comments on Facebook. A lot of people are Facebook bullies. They post stuff on there where they don't have to worry about facing somebody eye to eye. One of the things that came on there was me, have absconded with the money for the sewer project. Now, folks, I hadn't absconded with any money, but it's led to allegations on Facebook and talk radio that I'm a criminal. I hadn't taken any money. I live at the end of Richland Avenue, where I've lived since 1997. I lived on Main Street starting in '79, and I grew up on Bryan Street. I hadn't absconded or gone anywhere, and we hadn't even gotten the money for the sewer project yet. That's going to come in alone. But it doesn't matter. Just put it out there, and people will run with it. So I had people contacted me Saturday night while I was at the Jazz Festival saying, I hope you rot in prison. Now, that's all right. They can say that. I'm not a prude, folks. I understand that when you take this job on, you got a right to disagree with me, or the decision I make, or a recommendation I make. That's part of it. And I can live with that. But when my kids have to read that, that's where I draw the line. Lee Bond will appreciate this one. The second thing they said was the city employees finished up concreting my driveway. Bond Construction did my driveway. And I wrote him a check. The two guys are here. I wrote him a check. But that's the stuff that got out there. They said Bob Morgan and his crew was pouring concrete at my house. No. No. That's a lie. No, excuse me, it's misinformation. And then the third one was that I've instructed city employees to dump raw sewage into our water supply. Come on, folks. I live here. I drink the water. I bathe in the water. We cook in the water. We water our dog with the water. Let me tell you about the water system, because three of these people, these three, don't understand it. Our water system is run by 4 certified operators, and they take care of it. We do a water quality report to the state every year, and the most recent one was 2022. I've got plenty of copies of this report, and when this meeting is over, if you'd like to have one, come and get it. I made them for you, so you could read them. You'll see the status of our water, and you'll see something in there that may surprise you, but we all do, and we do it too. We all go to the store and buy bottled water. Bottled water does not have to be tested like public water has to be. You probably didn't know that, but they don't. They don't go through the rigorous testing that public water supplies do. And if you're buying Nestle's water, unless things have changed, they buy all of their water from the Red Boiling Springs public water supply and take it across the road about a mile and bottle it. So our water is fine, but I want to go a little further. I had 2 grandmothers, a grandfather, that all lived in the city limits. One of them lived to be 93, one of them lived to be 87, one of them lived to be 86. I don't think the water killed them. My mother and father lived here. My mother died at age 90, my dad died at age 87. I don't think the water killed them. I have a sister and brother-in-law live here. I've had brothers that live here at different times. I've got a grandchild that lives with me. Do you, honest to goodness, think that I would try to do anything to taint our water supply, your water supply? That is one of the most asinine comments I have ever heard. But let me say something else to you. 2 weeks ago, the fire department did a splash event right back here for all the kids in this community. They loved it. There wasn't any raw sewage in that water, and it came out of our water. Let me explain to you how Watertown gets their water, in case you don't know. These 2 little well houses up here, about 500 yards from here, pump every gallon of water we use. They pump it down to this building next door, the water plant, and it is treated there, and then it is pumped up the hill to our storage tank, and then when you turn on the faucet tonight, that's where your water comes from. It doesn't even get close to the sewer plant. That's our water supply. Now, I've had people contact me and say, you are polluting the rivers. I don't know how they can say that, but they can say whatever they want to, I guess. But that's our water supply. Now let's talk about our sewer system. We are seeking a grant probably most of it's gonna be a loan to repair the problems we have with our sewer system. One of the problems we have is that the main interceptor sewer runs down the middle of Round Lick Creek. It's buried under Round Lick Creek. And when it has a split or ruptures or whatever, yes. Inflow and infiltration of creek water gets in that. Our grant will cut that line and move it up onto the bank of the creek where we don't have to worry about that. That needs to be done, and we're pursuing that. We have tremendous runoff problems in this community from rainwater. The event you saw Thursday night was an extremely heavy rainfall in a short period of time. Our system surcharges when that happens, and what that means is we're not only treating sewage, we're treating runoff surface water. And it goes to the water plant. And we are rated or whatever to treat 227,000 gallons a day. On a dry day, we'll use about 130,000 of that. When it rains like it did Thursday night, and may rain tonight, we get more water than we can handle. I hadn't told anybody to raise the lids or anything else on the sewer system. But if you'll drive down Richland Avenue or you had Thursday night, that's the lowest street in the city, and you would have seen water coming up through the manhole covers. There's no place else for it to go. We hope to fix that. That's what our sewer project's for. Now, I'm going to get to these three individuals. They've had their chance on Facebook, and they've had their chance everywhere they want to go. None of them are here tonight that I know of. But I'm going to tell you about these three individuals, and I'm going to take them one at a time. Eric Austin worked for us from June 9th of 21 to May 31 of 2023 when we terminated him. We began to do an investigation that continues, and Mr. Austin left the Millington Police Department He was terminated December 16 of 2019. The Millington Police Department sought his decertification. What that means is if he's decertified, he can't be a police officer anymore. They charged him with 15 different things. 4 of them were obedience to orders. Another 3 were neglect of duty. But the one that jumped out at me, and he got a 3-day suspension for this, was truthfulness. And we've seen an example of that here, how truthful he is. I don't know whether they decertified him or not. He no longer works for Millington. He no longer works here. The fact that he could have been decertified, or maybe decertification was in the process, may be why he didn't make but 3 cases the whole 2 years he was here. And maybe he just made those 3 cases or didn't make any more because he thought, once I go to court, some defense lawyer is going to ask me about my record. The best thing for him to do is stay out of court. And he did. I had several complaints on him. And I want to say to you that 2 of them really stand out to me. We had a situation here where I had a parent, a husband and wife, come to me and tell me that they went to a piece of public property in this city to check on their underage daughter because she was with an older guy. And they came to check on their daughter. Now keep in mind, I don't have daughters, but you folks that have got daughters, think about this. Eric Austin met the man and told him to get off the property, and if he didn't get off the property, he'd arrest him. Now, here's a man trying to check on his daughter, and you would think the police officer would want to help him, but he didn't. And that boggles the mind for me. The second thing that I'm going to call your attention to is we had an employee here for the street department that on Thursday night before Memorial Day, or sometime maybe Wednesday or Thursday, did something pretty silly, and he vandalized some property. Now, I learned about it, believe it or not, because it showed up on Facebook. Nobody bothered to call the mayor and say, hey, you got a problem with an employee. I got it on Thursday night. As soon as I got it, I scheduled that young man to come in to see me at 8:30 on Tuesday morning. The reason I did that is because I left on Friday morning at 5 o'clock, taking my grandson and one of my granddaughters to meet her daddy at the Birmingham Zoo. And that's where I was Friday morning. While I was at the Birmingham Zoo, I got a call that Mr. Austin took it upon himself to tell this kid he was terminated. Now, I have to tell you very honestly, I was going to terminate him. And I think the young man knew it, but the police officer decided he'd terminate him. He'd already been at the subway at 5 o'clock that morning when the young man rode in to work with his mama and went up there and bullied him. Once I found that out, that's the end of it for me. Now, that's not all the events, but I've got more documented, but I'll stop there. He didn't get his bonus, and he'll never work here again as long as I'm sitting in this chair. The second employee was Donna Austin. You heard from her at the last meeting. And I regret two things from that meeting, and it's not what you're going to think. It's not that I somewhat lost my cool, but one is because I let this woman talk too long. She beleaguered Chief Laney unnecessarily, and I let it go on too long. And I called Chief Laney the next morning to apologize to him. That bothered me that night. I didn't sleep real well. I should have handled that better, and I didn't. That's on me. The other thing I regret is, after she got done that night, and you folks may not realize it, well, I sign payroll checks every Thursday night. The employees get paid on Friday morning. After that meeting was over, I walked into that room over there on the other side of the wall there and signed her bonus check. I should have stopped that. I should have stopped it that night, but she got her bonus check. And I regret that to this day, but she's got it. She talked about an incident where she said Chief Laney didn't handle it properly. I'm not going to get into the facts of it. I will tell you this, when this meeting's over, he's got a video of it, and it's drastically different from what she said. But she attacked him on that. It did not happen the way she said. She made it sound like we had a bunch of illegals coming through Watertown and nobody would do anything about it. She stopped the car for speeding, spoke to the driver, and the rest of them were asleep in the back. She didn't call for backup. She didn't call for anybody to come and check on it. She called for Chief Laney, and she tried to say that Chief Laney didn't respond. He did, and he's got it on video. Let me give you a couple of other incidents. On February 10th of 2022 at 12:28 a.m., Ms. Austin reported that she was shot at on a traffic stop. Now, y'all know, folks, we don't have a lot of shootings here. She said that she pulled over a car up here across from Hunter Memorial Gardens, and somebody took a shot at her. And she dropped down behind the door to keep from getting hit. She didn't return fire. She didn't discharge her weapon. There are no bullet holes in our car. No shell casings found. And furthermore, when we got to viewing the video, our folks swear body count. When we got to reviewing the video, she never moved from sitting in front of Daniel's Market at that time. Now, if you and I had turned in that report, we'd be charged. We'd be criminally charged for filing a false report. And I'm going to do everything I can to see that she gets charged if I can. Now, I may have waited too long. The other thing was a little more recent. Keep in mind what time these things are happening. That was 12:28 a.m. On January 30 of this year at 1:47 a.m., she reported an officer assaulted. The officer was her. She had pulled off on a little narrow road up here in the industrial park, and she claims that someone pushed her down from behind. She filed a workers' comp claim. She claimed that somebody pushed her down from behind, but she didn't see them. She didn't know who they were, didn't know where they went, but they pushed her down. It sounds like similar to the same phantom person that took a shot at her. But she reported that. The amazing thing to me on that, when an officer is in trouble, they put out the word and officers respond. Our other officers would have responded. Sheriff's Department would have responded to take care of an officer who's in trouble. The first person that responded, that showed up on the scene, was a member of the Watertown Volunteer Fire Department. Now, how in the world did he know about that at 1:47 in the morning? I don't know. We'll look into that too. After she got her bonus and after she left here, I learned from a gentleman who was pretty upset with our police department. His girlfriend had been involved in an accident, and Donna Gray worked the accident on June 19th. They needed an accident report to turn in on their insurance, and she did not fill out the report. So consequently, when they came to the police department, nobody else knew anything about it. Our people were upset about that. The boyfriend was upset. He thought that we weren't doing our job, and one of us wasn't, Officer Gray. But when we found out, the people sitting back there in that corner, Chief Laney, Chief Henderlight, those folks, they worked to piece together that and got them an accident report. Now you see why more and more I regret paying her that bonus. But in any event, we got that one straightened out, and that gentleman singing the praises of the Watertown Police Department, and I'm thankful for it. Now, there's one more individual who's running around town, he's getting on Facebook, he's talking on talk radio, and it's Lee Lasker. I terminated him from the Watertown Volunteer Fire Department. Now let me give you a little history on Lee, and let me tell you how everybody here's heard the old saying, no good deed goes unpunished. I'm going to tell you about the good deeds I did for this young man. He's a former employee here, and he worked on the street department, the water and sewer department, and he left one day on the clock and took off with the Alexandria Fire Department to Gatlinburg to fight fires while he was on the clock here. I accepted his resignation, but not on that particular incident. That morning, Bob Morgan, his supervisor, had to be out. And while my investigation was that Lee clocked out and told Randy Gwaltney that he had been deployed to Sevier County to fight forest fires. The city of Watertown had not been asked to respond. Lee did ask Chief Hahn if he could go, and he was granted permission to go, but he was still on the clock for the city of Watertown. From what I'm told, he had been asked by the City of Alexandria Fire Department to go with them to that area to assist. He did not request permission to leave his employment from his supervisor or myself. As we only have a crew of 4 people and Bob Morgan was out that day, that left us with 2 people here to work. Now, if we had a water leak or a sewer leak, we need more than 2 people. It's the reason we work 4 people. Mr. Laster posted the other night that I must not care about people up in Gatlinburg. Well, let me tell you right now, I care about everybody, but the people I care the most about are sitting out here. I took an oath to take care of the city of Watertown, and that's what I'm going to do. And when that young man left his job, I called him in and I told him, you can't do that anymore. Then, I stood right in there at the city recorder's office, city clerk's office, and looked out the window one day, on a day very similar to this morning, hot. Our employees were out there mowing. Everybody but Lee Laster. Lee was mowing the basketball court. Ain't a blade of grass on it. But he was mowing the basketball court, going up and down, and every time he turned around, he would try to pop a wheelie on the riding mower. And I watched it one time, and I thought, surely he didn't do just what I did, what I saw. And then I watched him do it 15 or 20 times. I told Bob, said, go get him and bring him in. I was ready to fire him. Gonna fire him. Now I looked at the young man. He's just, at that time, just a kid. He's an adult, but I thought he's gonna need to get a job somewhere. So I offered him the opportunity to resign, and he took it. That was a good move on his part. Might have been the best one he's made in a while. But I intended to fire him. That's why I say no good deed goes unpunished. I should have fired him. I should have, but I gave him a chance. And now look what he's doing to be in this city. Not so much me, I can handle it, but the city. Now, I allowed him to stay with the fire department. I had reports of him bullying several people. One was a young man who was going through the training at our fire department, and Lee prepared some type of document. It's not on any city stationery, it's not on any fire department stationery, it's on actually a yellow sheet of paper. And he terminated him from that. And you know what he terminated him for? His mama took that young man's picture on a City of Lebanon fire engine. According to Lee, that's not allowed. Lee, as I began to investigate, I found out had been living in our fire department free of charge for weeks and months. Living there, not going over and working on the engine, living there. When I found that out, I put a stop to it. Again, being benevolent, let him stay. Then I found out he was driving one of our vehicles on his own personal business. He's been driving it back and forth to Lebanon. He's been driving it to get massages. He's been driving it to go to the tanning bed. He's been driving it to get meals. He's been driving it around town. And I stopped him. Now, we had a complaint from a man right up here in the subway parking lot, a man that I know, a man that I trust, a man that his little son I coached on my baseball team. And this guy told me Lee Laster tried to run over me in the city vehicle as I was coming out of the subway. We investigated that. That happened the day after Christmas last year. But the man decided not to prosecute. I sure hope he'll rethink that. I really do. But that's up to him. After Donna Gray stood in here on June the 29th and got after Chief Laney and myself, Lee began to spread all kind of information around the city. Like I said, on Facebook. A couple of days later, went to talk radio. I had enough. I terminated him. I called Chief Hahn. I said, he is no longer to be a volunteer fireman. He is no longer to be at the fire hall. He is no longer to be around that. I'm not going to let that happen again. Misinformation about this community is not acceptable to me. Now, we got one child in here. After all this happened, I started getting messages from people I don't even know. And the first one I got came from a gentleman named David. And his telephone number is a California number. But his message to me was, Dale, cover her ears, please. He said to me, you, sir, are an asshole and you should resign. That's what he said. Now, he put that in writing. But then he called and left that message on my answering machine where others could hear it. Now, don't sit out there and y'all and look at me and tell me that wouldn't make you angry either. It made me angry. And then I started getting these messages Saturday night. You know, you're going to go to prison. I can't wait to see you rot. I can't wait to see you stand in front of a judge. He doesn't know that I stand in front of a judge a couple of times a week. It's part of my job. Never been a defendant. Don't expect to be. But I want you to know the investigations, all these things are ongoing. And this stuff that you're hearing out there, I hope that if anything occurs that you have doubts about, you will call me, because I'll tell you. I want to say two other things. I forgot a while ago with regard to Donna Gray. She got on me that night because she had made a public records request, and I told her they would be available July the 3rd. She wanted all the information on her fellow officers. The information, I came over on Sunday afternoon, July 2nd, went through it, and had it ready to go on the 3rd. You know when she picked it up? The afternoon of July the 7th. She got on me for delaying it, and then she didn't even come and get it. I didn't delay it. I just needed to make sure that we weren't giving out confidential information on police officers. And I made sure of that. The other thing is I want to revisit this about me taking money. Folks, I'm not looking for praise. Please don't take it this way. But 40 years I've done this job for no pay. I asked for it. I don't want pay. I asked for it. I don't even have an expense account. When I go to Nashville to meet with the state people on water and sewer, I pay my gas, I drive my car. There are 3 things that I take money for. Y'all, anybody that's been to Nashville lately knows you can't park downtown for less than $35, $40. When I park, I get my reimbursement. If I go out of town for the city, and if it's not paid for by the organization I'm going for, I ask the city to pay the hotel bill. The Tennessee Municipal League is meeting this week in Nashville. I will not stay overnight there. Last year it met in Chattanooga. I stayed one night and the city paid for that. And then, most of the time, but not all the time, I pay for my own meals. And my thinking on that is if I'm home, I gotta pay. So if I'm somewhere else, I gotta pay. Every now and then I'll turn a meal ticket in. I probably hadn't turned in 40 years, over $500 worth of stuff. But this is the type of crap that's going on out there from 3 disgruntled individuals who have got an axe to grind with me, and as you can tell, I can take care of myself. But I don't appreciate it doing it to my community. I've lived here 68 years. This is my home. I'm doing this because I care for the community. And when I've got 3 people that don't live anywhere around the community and don't even know where our water supply comes from, they don't need to be out popping them jaws. So I will promise you, I will defend this city and myself no matter what. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and legally if I have to. So I want you to know that. I appreciate you listening to me. I wanted people out there to hear it. You don't have to go to Facebook. Maybe they'll run it on talk radio, maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't want to go, I'm not fighting with talk radio. But if I'm going to be responsible for it, then you can talk to me about it. You don't have to get it from anybody else. You can talk to me. Thank you for bearing with me. And by the way, the water quality reports are here if you'd like to have one. Now let me get back to my agenda here. Oh, I actually was going to start with something that was good news, and so I'll finish with it. We have gotten our final figures in on the budget that just ended June the 30th. For the first time in history, the city of Watertown had a budget over $2 million. $2,020,000. We've done that without raising your taxes and without raising your water and sewer rates. The good news is you're spending your money in Watertown, and people, we're getting local sales tax. Our local sales tax this year for the first time ever was $400,000. Now that's good for us, but it's even better for our merchants because it means they're selling product. So I hope you'll continue that. All 3 of our funds, we operate a general fund, we operate a parks and recreation fund, we operate a water and sewer fund. All 3 of them finished in the black. And I'm proud of that. That doesn't always happen. I'm proud of that. These folks have done an excellent job of managing your money, and I commend them for it. All right, now, we usually do some reports here from our personnel. So, Chief, y'all are up first. Police, you want to wait? You want to wait?
A long time before, because it come up because of the pit bull.
Yes.
And if you go through and tell everybody if you got a pit bull, you got to get rid of them. Any percentage of pit bull is in there. I think it's American bulldogs in there too. There's several different breeds that's in there. A lot of people's got them that's never had a problem with them at all. But we've had this vicious dog on the books for a long time, and the vicious dog is the ones we need to get rid of. It's not somebody's pet that may be a particular breed. That's not an important, but that should be I don't have it in front of me. I know that it was tweaked a little bit, but it's,
And actually, that's what I wanted to bring up tonight, Mayor, if we can,
Sure.
if we can get, Assistant Chief Hinderlight's recommendations, put into our ordinance, I'd like to see a new ordinance brought before us so we could vote on that and get it on the books.
Did we have one that went out this time for y'all to look at? The reason I'm seeming a little curious is I was looking for mine, and I don't find it.
I didn't see.
You didn't get one?
I didn't get one.
All right, then we need to bring that in next time on first reading. You good with that, Steve?
Yeah, I'll be good with that, yes, I just wanted, I knew that came up a few months ago and I wanted to get it back in our queue to address that.
Yeah, let me say, we have had problems over the years with the pit bull ordinance. It probably wasn't very well drafted to start with. And so I think the feeling I'm getting is we want to do away with that and go to.
Right.
And I think Mike Hinderlight called it a dangerous dog.
yeah.
ordinance.
Well, it's already an ordinance. We've already got that ordinance.
Okay, but this one was a little better.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
defines it just a
We
little
wanted to
bit.
deal with other stuff besides pit bulls. You know, every now and then you run into a chihuahua that thinks they're pretty bad, you know.
Yeah, I've
They'll
had that
lick your heels
experience
and
here,
stuff.
yeah.
And I say that jokingly, but we've got other dogs, and what happened is it didn't give y'all a lot of flexibility to handle it. So
Correct.
we'll take that up next time, if y'all will get that ordinance to us.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's already done.
Okay.
yeah, I recall seeing his recommendations, but I didn't recall seeing
Yeah,
an
we-
updated ordinance in the
we-
formalized.
We worked on it and got it done. I apologize for not having it here. I should have had it here. I didn't even think about it, just to be honest with you. We've been fighting so many other battles that one got away from me.
All right.
Chief, if, are the cars, are we planning on identifying them? I've had several questions about that.
Yes, it's gonna cost, right about $1,000 a car to do them. They're not gonna be like the other one. Miss Gray, when she was here, did the graphics for that car, and she claims that there's a patent on it, so we're not gonna go back with it. But we're gonna go back with what's called a shadow. But it looks good.
Okay.
It looks good.
I hope I'm not jumping out too far in front of you, Hal, but I think I've had some comments too. I'd like to see those cars marked.
Yeah.
And we don't have to use our design unless we have to do with
No.
it better.
Well, we've got like I said, we've got I've actually got some, here, I'll leave with you. Okay.
But let's get them marked, whatever it costs, let's get them
Okay.
marked.
This is kind of you got one copy of it that shows kind of what they're talking about when they call them shadows,
Yeah,
but they really look good, you know, they're not,
they are. They do look good, and I'd like to see them look very professional. Good stuff.
Well, what I was gonna do is, I think the estimate I've heard from, Assistant Chief Hinderlight earlier today and what
yeah, it's about
Chief Lane just
$1,000
raised,
a car.
$1,000 a car. I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and approve for them to spend up to $3,200 to get all the decals and labeling put on the new police cars as soon as possible. Because I've had several complaints from citizens wondering why we have unmarked cars.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
There is, there is one other issue too that's, was brought up before. Also, Miss Gray brought it up. We was just talking about why she was driving a particular car and not another one. None of the new cars have spotlights on them.
Well, let me say this. You, the chief, you make a decision who drives the car and when, or you and
Yes, sir.
Mike, or whatever.
And
But the lady you just mentioned ain't got nothing to do with us anymore.
I know,
It shows up when light hits it
but
at night.
spotlights would be good for them. You know, we've got floodlights on the front, and it's good, you know, for looking down, looking down the sides. Our cars are all perfectly legal, just like they are, or they wouldn't be on the road.
Yeah, but I want people to know that,
Yes,
you know, it's good PR for y'all to be seen riding in the community.
exactly.
Not getting
And
shot
there's
at
something
one
else,
by one.
there's something else that we've got going on with it too, that we hadn't really started yet. I'm really kind of thinking about doing it, but we ride, through it a lot at nights. And these new cars has a light on there, it's called a cruise. I don't know if anybody's been around any of the big cities and stuff and knows what it is, but basically what it is, the front lights on your car glows blue. It don't flash, it just glows. And I know when I go around schools and stuff like that, when time's not on and whatever, I run them. And then that way, everybody, they see a car, they know what it is. There's pluses and minuses to all of it. The pluses is be seen, let people know that you're there. The minuses is the bad guys know you're coming and they hide till you leave. So, you take one with the other. But I think the spotlights also needs to be on them too.
Yes.
I don't have a
On the
price for them yet.
report, Would you get back to putting the gas mileage and so forth like we was getting on the report?
Yeah, we should have. No. We have, I'll get it for you.
Thank you.
Now, I don't mind getting it for you. I guess I get a little tied up sometimes, some of this stuff, trying to figure out, what you need and all this stuff. We want to know how many miles, the cars are driven. They're patrol cars, they're going to be driven on patrol. Whatever miles they run is what they run,
I think Howell's comments coming from the fact that before we went to the new computerized system that we're using now,
Right.
we used to get a spreadsheet, and it could be a separate sheet that showed which cars, how much we were spending on fuel on them, and what the fuel economy was being. And it would be nice to be able to see that information on our new vehicles, just to
Okay.
see how we're,
Yeah, I
what
will,
it's
I will
costing
see
to
that
operate them on a daily basis.
I will see that gets put on there.
Yeah, I think Kendra like used to have a little spreadsheet, you kept it in, it should.
Yeah, this new system is great as far as the reporting and stuff goes, but, there's still little twerks on that too, that we've got to work out and figure out too, but it's all getting better.
Well, that would be internal information, not in your system anyways, but yes, if we can
Right.
get that, it would be useful.
And, I really don't know why it's not there, because every time we fuel up, we turn in a daily log, and that daily log has got any fuel purchases and the miles and all that on there too. So, the information is there. It's just a matter of getting it transferred over.
Any questions on this report? The numbers? All right, thank you, Chief.
I do want to say one thing that you brought up a while ago. Last meeting, Donna was on me pretty heavy and was telling everybody how bad I was doing on this and doing on the other. And, she's talked about this one traffic stop. And her response was, well, look at the video. I guess you figured we wasn't smart enough to pull the video. I know that you've seen it, and the video is nothing like what she said it was.
Nothing to get on.
And but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay till after the meeting, and then anybody in here that wants to see what the truth is about this, we'll be glad to show it to you, show you the live action video from it. So you won't be taking my word or her word. Use your own eyes to see what's going on with it, which is the way it should be. It shouldn't have to be, but that's just the time. That's the way it is.
Yep. Anybody wants to stay, hang around.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. Next, we would go to the fire report. Chief Hahn let me know this afternoon he is on shift at his paying job, and Joe Decker, the assistant chief, is out of town, so we don't have you have a written fire report, but you don't have anybody here tonight to talk to, so I'm just delivering the message. He asked if that would be a problem. I told him I didn't think it would be. Sewer report, Dale, you got anything?
It's pretty easy. I don't really have much for you this month.
That's good.
Unless you guys have something for me.
Dale, I do actually have a question.
Okay.
If I found it right, back in February, we had gotten a quote about replacing the roots blower on Commerce.
I haven't.
I've heard several updates that they were still on order. Have they?
I haven't gotten any the blower or the pump station pumps yet. Either one haven't gotten through yet. Yeah, still waiting on both of those.
Have they given you any idea, because we're already going on 6 months?
Right, yeah, I talked to the construction company, about the pump station about 3 weeks ago, but they were still waiting on the manufacturers, and, I'll get back with both of those, the blower and the pump station people, and see if we can get some updates on those. Just-
Yeah, if you could follow up on that.
I will.
6 months, I mean, I understand supply chain, but we're going on 6, 7 months
Right, yeah,
now.
I understand. I definitely understand.
Hi, Lily. Any other questions of Dave? Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
I need to say one other thing. You're not gonna have to listen long to this, but I should have said it a while ago. One of those new laws requires us to post an agenda 48 hours in advance. This time we put it out about 5 days in advance, and probably in the future it'll be closer to 48 hours than it will 5 days, because it takes some work to get that together. But my point is, if you've got something you want to see on the agenda, let me know, we'll put it on there. In the past, what we would do is you just show up and we could talk about it, but it has to be on the agenda now for us to consider it. So if you have anything, just let April or Lisa or myself send us an email or whatever, we'll get you on the agenda. All right, we got some items of old business. I won't spend a lot of time on them. Already been over the budget matters, and we've got our first report for the first 18 days of this year. Too early to tell any trend on that. So, but you got 2 reports. You got the year end and then the first one this year. I want to say what a great day, 2 great days we had. 4th of July with the parade and the fireworks. I thought it was a very good day, and people seemed to enjoy it. And then the Jazz Festival Saturday night was probably the best we've had, and probably the biggest crowd we've had. And moving it over into the shade and underneath those big trees was a good move. So just wanted to say thank you to those people that made that happen. The last easement that we need, I have not heard back from Mr. Hall. I sent him a message this afternoon again. Y'all authorized me several months ago to proceed with condemnation. I'm going to do that. Can't wait any longer. So I had hoped that we could resolve this, but it doesn't look like it. New business, I've already commented on the new laws to the city council meeting. We've got 2 things we need. Well, let me say something else. We have received a state water grant of $699,907.33, which will be used to upgrade, obviously, the water system, but it'll be from the water plant to the tank. Tank needs to be repainted, needs to have some work done on the inside. There's a way they do that. I'm not smart enough to describe it for you, but I'm confident they'll get it done. We are supposed to have a 25% matching grant, a 25% match. It showed on ours $139,000, which I don't think is quite 25%. So I'm not going to rock the boat on that. 2 resolutions I want to present to you tonight. I think they're important, and I promise you we'll get to the public hearings. First is one that, oh man. Teachers. Yeah, well, I got the one for the teachers. I wanted to start off with the one, we do one every year, have since 1999, and it's a resolution designating Sunday, July 30th as a day of prayer for our schools in Wilson County. I want to read this to you. Whereas a day of prayer for our schools was conceived by members of the Kiwanis Club of Lebanon, Tennessee after the murder of several students and a teacher at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado, a tragedy which caused Americans across the nation to become concerned for the safety of their children at school, and sadly was not the last example of violence in an American school. And whereas the first observance of a day of prayer for our schools was sponsored by the Kiwanis Club of Lebanon on August 14, 1999, and whereas this project has been repeated each year since then, with the 25th annual observance of a day of prayer for our schools to be held on Sunday, July 31, 2023. Whereas this project seeks to unite the entire community in prayer for the safety of our children by encouraging all churches and places of worship to dedicate a portion of their worship service that day to special prayer seeking God's help in keeping our children safe at school. And whereas the first two objects of Kiwanis are to give primacy to the human and spiritual rather than the material values of life, and to promote the daily living of the golden rule in all human relationships. And whereas with no greater blessing from God than the gift of our children, Kiwanis members believe that the safety of our children at school should be a very high priority, and they are requesting the entire community to join in this effort. Kiwanians also believe that the solutions to many of the problems existing in our society are spiritual in nature rather than political, and new laws and more metal detectors in our schools will not change the way people treat each other. And whereas members of the Kiwanis Club believe that there's no better thing than prayer to seek a safe school environment for our children, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Watertown that in furtherance of the efforts of the members of the Kiwanis Club of Wilson County, Tennessee, we hereby designate Sunday, July 30, 2023 as a day of prayer for our schools in Watertown and urge the entire community of Watertown to join in this effort. I certainly recommend this to you, and I appreciate if you can pass it.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. The other one is a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Watertown designating the week of July 23, 2023 as We Love Our Wilson Teachers Week in the City of Watertown. Whereas Watertown is blessed with tremendous education systems, both public and private, I see some of the folks that are retired from our system back here tonight, and they've done a good job over the years. And from in-person learning to virtual and homeschool, we are proud to support our teachers in all facets of learning. And whereas it is fitting that we show our appreciation as our students and teachers prepare for a new school year. And whereas the Lebanon, Wilson County, Mount Juliet, and Watertown Chambers of Commerce came together to form an initiative showcasing the love we have for our teachers in 2022. That should be 23, I'll fix that. As returning teachers entered their schools, they were greeted by residents and organizations holding signs that expressed their admiration for our teachers, further demonstrating that a small act of kindness can change someone's day. And whereas this effort has gained the unwavering support of the Wilson County and Lebanon Special School District leadership, so much so that it is appropriate to continue the initiative this year by proclaiming that We Love Our Teachers Week by celebrating our teachers throughout Watertown. And whereas most people moving to our communities identify education and our teachers as their main reason for selecting Watertown as their new place to call home. And whereas our educators are helping to shape future generations of leaders, business owners, employees, and invested residents, they do so while facing some of the most trying and challenging workplace environments in our lifetime, as they are not isolated from the growing number of outside pressures of their chosen profession. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Watertown, we hereby designate the week of July 23, 2023 as We Love Our Teachers Week in Watertown and urge all citizens to join in this effort. Certainly have no problem recommending that one to you either.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, let's go to our public hearings and zoning matters. Christopher, I told you you'd have time to go home and eat supper.
Are you all going to close public comment? Do you want me to do the public comment for both of them, or are you taking on a case-by-case basis?
No, let's do it on a case-by-case basis. And so what we'll do is we'll declare this, we go into a public hearing at this time for whichever one you want to take up first.
I was just going to do them in the order they were in the paper.
Okay.
This public notice was published June 28th in the Wilson Post, notifying that there will be a public hearing on July 18th at 6 p.m. Application by Brian Keith, representing property owners Brandon Bass, Blake Bass, and Jason Turner, to annex and rezone property located on Linwood Road, being Wilson County Tax Map 127, Parcel 16, containing approximately 3.18 acres. At the time of annexation, the property will become R1 residential low density in Watertown, and this is the first reading to come before you at City Council. This, I don't know how much information you want me to divulge here in the public hearing, but this was at Watertown Planning Commission on June 13th. It comes to City Council with a negative recommendation. They had 10 days to appeal that decision by the Watertown Planning Commission. They submitted an appeal on June 16th, which was 3 days after the decision for Watertown City Council, and they're here before City Council for the first reading to request annexation into the city limits of Watertown. And I can answer any other questions that may come up after the public hearing.
Okay, so we're now in a public hearing on the, what I'll call the Bass, and Turner appeal. Anybody that would like to speak to that, step forward and feel free to speak. Yes, ma'am.
This is the one on Linwood Road.
It is.
Okay. Do I have to come up there?
Stand.
You can
Well,
hear me from here.
I hope so. We're going out, you're in YouTube, Laurel. So that's the way we broadcast our meetings, so.
Oh, okay. Up there?
Yeah, please.
Well, you can hear back here when they're facing you, and so that's why I hesitated. And of course, this is gonna be too high for me.
Well, you can pull it down.
But we'll put it down.
Yeah, you can pull it.
Okay, I have two concerns with the property being zoned.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
we need you to state your name and
Okay,
address.
Sue Simpson, 7268 Sparta Pike. One is the destruction of the dynamiting and clearing of the rock, the solid rock that's there, and the other is the safety, concern for safety. When the storage buildings were put there, everyone in the community sustained property damage, and we had no recourse to get it repaired or paid for. The company that did the dynamiting disappeared. Insurance wouldn't pay it because they said it was earth moving. We had to sustain the loss ourselves. This time it's going to be just as bad because it's solid rock up there. And there's going to have to be a lot of, now I've got doors that won't shut, doors that won't open. A 3-mirror cabinet came off the wall in the bathroom. A picture came off the wall, and none of my pictures, I can keep them straight now. So there's going to be more damage to everybody's property. The church across from the storage buildings, they had just remodeled it, and they had to do the whole thing over again. The neighbor next to, across the street from me, her chimney split from the bottom to the top. She waited 2 years to get it done because we weren't sure of any more dynamiting, and even further away than we are. So we want something to be done about taking care of any damage that's sustained during that time from somebody. The second and the most important is the safety. Right now, every morning during school, there are 3 school buses lined up at the end of Linwood Road trying to turn left to get to the schools. And by the way, I have to go out 2 days a week because I'm still teaching at 80 years old. And I have to come.
Don't tell that.
I'm proud of that.
Well, you should.
I have to turn right to come toward Watertown in order to go left to get to Lebanon, and I have to turn around in the clinic parking lot. When I get to Linwood Road, those 3 buses are still sitting there. I will stop, making everybody behind me upset, blowing their horn. And when I stop, the traffic coming from Lebanon will stop, and we let the buses out. Otherwise, on the days that I'm not working, I don't know who does it, if anybody does it or not, but that causes the kids to be late to school. That upsets the teachers because they're interrupted. The principal and the secretary they have to write excuses for the kids to get into the classroom. If they put the multiple housing on there, that will be, I think that he said 40-something units. Each person, each unit having 2 cars, that's going to be 90 more cars added to that. Where the situation of where it's going to be, there's a sharp curve and it's up at the top of the hill. There's already so much traffic out there. When you add 90 more cars coming out of the morning at work time and going back in the afternoon, and that's not counting any teenage drivers they have that might have automobiles. And it's just going to be a dangerous situation. We already have accidents there at that section. Had a motorcycle burn up out there just a few weeks ago because of the traffic being able to turn in and turn out. Those are 2 of my concerns and my neighbors' concerns about those units being built there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Simpson. Are you speaking for several of the neighbors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Anybody else? Come on up, Mr. Beard. You don't have to tell your age now. But I know how old you are, you don't recall.
Yeah, well, I'm 76, I'm proud of it. But my name is Robert Beard, I live at 600 Linwood Road, and I'm actually speaking on behalf of the church, Dow Chapel Church, which is right across from where they wanting to build that property at. And just like Ms. Sue said, the traffic is already bad there, and the church is right on top of the hill, and we have now, you hear brakes screeching all the time, people coming over the hill, and you can't hardly get in and out of the parking lot now. But my main concern is the blasting. They had a meter when they put the storage buildings over there that was supposed to tell how much blasting they'd done, but we got damage in the church. Ms. Thorne got damage down there that I know of, and we was doing a remodeling on the church, and actually while it was remodeling, the blasting tore up some of the new stuff that they just put up they had to redo, and it's solid rock over there. If you go look at the storage building, you can see how they went down in just that rock. And on the other thing is, with that many units, I'm just concerned about the noise and stuff like that, and people not, they don't have concern for church anymore, the noise factor and everything like that. And on, with the gun laws and all like they are now, if you shoot a weapon, if you shoot it up in the air, that bullet's got to come down somewhere. So I just think it will affect our church. The church been on that property since 1912, and so we just don't think it'll be a good match over there to have the units, that many units over there right across from the church. But I think it'll be a noise factor and it'll be a safety factor.
Thank you, Mr. Beard. Anybody else? Ms. Huddleston, I don't know that I've called you that twice in my life.
Tell them what you call me.
Miss Tootsie.
Okay. I'm Virginia Huddleston, 979 Linwood Road. I have been on Linwood Road. I'm a mile out. We are. We've been out there, well, I've been there since I was 6 years old, and I'm 86 now. So that community,
Tell him ages, Dad.
I
know, it's all right.
Okay, that community means a lot to a lot of us out there. We've been there, not just me, there's our community is out there. And if you're not familiar with that 3 acres, I ask you, before you vote for it, to go out and check it out yourself, if you're not familiar with those 3 acres and where they are. Because it's going to devastate the church, it's going to devastate the community, and it's just something that I hate to see. So please think about this before you vote for it. because we're very concerned out there, and we love it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Toots. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. I bet she ain't gonna be 86.
Dodie Judkins, 180 Linwood Road, and my property butts right beside the property that y'all were talking about.
Okay.
And yes, there is a lot of concern. I mean, we've already, like everybody said, had damage from the dynamite and from the storage units. Not just on our houses, but our vehicles, our RVs, our swimming pools, rock fences, our fences, I mean, and nobody's done anything or nothing. So, and with that being said, and the traffic is horrendous. I mean, you not only got all the cars going back and forth through there, you got all the truck drivers going back and forth through there, through the industrial park. And half of them run off the road trying to turn in. If you go from Linwood up to the industrial park, you'll see big places on the sides of the road where they missed the turn. I've had cars go through my front yard already. I cannot let my grandkids go out in my front yard and play because of the traffic and how people run up and down through there going 90 miles an hour in something that needs speed bumps to keep these people calm. And I mean, it's bad. It's very bad, y'all. And I really, really wish that y'all would really consider all of this. And the rock, that rock is horrible. That's all that 3 acres is, solid rock. And it's not just on top. You're going to have to drill way down in the ground to get any kind of sewage, plumbing, anything. So that's going to cost whoever, whatever, but it's horrible. I've had to have dirt hauled in just to cover my rock up, just so I can have a backyard and a front yard. But that's what I got to say about that. And just please, y'all, think about that and how much money it's going to cost for whoever. And I am going to videotape my whole house all the way inside and out to see and show if damages come up. My house, my pool, my cars, my garage, my RV. I'll do it before and after. And if I have to, I will come back up here. I will press charges. I'll do whatever I have to do to get my stuff taken care of. Because I'm not going to go through my homeowner's insurance and then them turn me down because it was an act of somebody else and their insurance is supposed to cover it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna close the public comment on this one. And then, Christopher, you need to tell us what we've got in front of us. And then I have, Mr. and Mrs. Earl Kennedy could not be here tonight. They sent me some questions to ask. I didn't mention them during the public comment because it's not really a public comment. They want some answers.
Okay.
And I'll ask those questions before we,
Okay, so
as we work through this.
you want to do the public comment for the other case, or you want to,
Now, let's go ahead and do this one.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're ready to take this up. Do you want me to ask those questions now?
You can, or I can reiterate anything from planning that you may have questions on.
Yeah, go ahead and do what you do.
Okay, this request, from planning was an annexation and rezoning. the appeal was to appeal the annexation and the rezoning. You as city council have the option to honor both of those requests or just one, depending on how you all feel. The original intent, if it's annexed into the city limits of Watertown at the standard R1 zoning, this tract of land is 3.18 acres approximately, would allow 13 single-family units, new units into Watertown. The RM2 proposed zone district would allow 17 single-family units with a maximum total of 33 units if it's set up in a townhome or apartment complex style. The proposal at Planning Commission was 22 units, but that is not something that you can hold them to because it's a straight zone district. That's just what the applicant was coming forth with. Again, this comes to you with a negative recommendation. I'm happy to answer any other questions you all may have.
As I recall, Steve, the vote at the planning commission was 3-2 against. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Kennedy sent me these questions this afternoon and asked me to ask them. And while it said there was 4, there's actually 2 or 3 questions per comment.
Okay.
Has the developer submitted detailed building plans?
No, sir. We've got maybe like a concept plan, but detailed building plans typically wouldn't come till the site plan.
Okay.
And that would come before Watertown Planning Commission before those could be approved. A rezoning doesn't lock in any sort of building plans or requirements.
All right, the follow-up on that, I guess, was will this be apartments, townhouses, single-family homes?
Well, it's a straight zone district, RM2. It allows all 3 of those. It would be up to the developer to provide that information and then Watertown Planning Commission to vote on whether or not they see the use fits on the property.
Okay.
Which they would approve. If it were single-family homes, they would approve the subdivision plat. If it were townhomes or apartments, they would approve the site plan.
How will the developer/city ensure the additional load on the main water line will not further reduce the terminal pressure at under-pressurized points further down Linwood Road? Now, that water line's a county line, isn't it?
It's a, Wilson County Wastewater Authority line.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I told him that I didn't think it was our water line.
It is not.
So I don't know that we can answer that unless you know the answer.
I do not. They will get, once a site plan, before a site plan is submitted, or probably in the joint process of that, they will have to submit construction documents. Those construction documents will go to the stormwater office, which will review runoff. They will go to Watertown's sewer, which would be for review for sewer plans. And then they will also go to Wilson County Wastewater Authority for the approval of the water system. And I don't know if Watertown, you may be able to answer this part. We have a fire marshal in the county. I do not know if he's stepping into city limits of Watertown, but it typically would have a fire marshal review as well in the county. And I don't know if you all are reaching out to that as well, or you do your own review based off of.
We don't have a fire marshal per se.
Okay.
We may rely on somebody else, but we don't have that.
Yep.
The third set of questions was, how will the city accommodate the greatly increased traffic flow at Sparta Pike and Linwood Road? Will the city install a light or position a patrolman to direct traffic to allow safe left turns from Linwood onto 70 during high traffic times, school mornings?
Okay.
That intersection's in the county, isn't it?
Linwood Road is a county road. Sparta Pike is a state route. And since that intersection is predominantly in the city limits from where Watertown, man,
I don't believe any
I
part
don't
of that
know where it
intersection.
starts. I don't know where your city limit starts, but if it's in the city limits or in the county, it would be up to that jurisdiction to appeal to the state or TDOT to request a traffic signal there.
I don't think we have a dog in that fight. I don't think that's city property.
And just given,
I do know the city limits going west down 70 end at Mr. Bond's property. They do not go all the way to Linwood Road along 70.
Right.
Now, the
Okay.
city limits behind it over to this property do extend down to Linwood, but that's through the industrial park. That's not along 70. So I don't think that intersection is in the city.
Okay. Well, I know the other storage units right there at the intersection of Main and Sparta Pike, that's city limits, and that's on the north side of Sparta there.
Yeah, but that's also east of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you and Steve saying the same thing?
But to just, for the council's information, whether it be the maximum 33 units or 13 single-family, if it was done in single-family units, that allotment of traffic is probably not going to warrant any sort of signal at that intersection. And that's just based off the larger developments that we deal with in the county of 80, anywhere from 80 to 100 lots. Those don't even trigger traffic signals at
Well,
that level.
I will add this, we've been trying for 20 years to get a traffic light down here at Statesville Road and Highway 70. We all know what kind of
We have a
traffic light,
flashing
we can't
light.
get one, so I
Yeah.
doubt very seriously they're going to do one there.
Yep.
Then the last one, will the city provide adequate police patrols to meet the expected increase in crime brought by a high-density housing area? Well,
I can't answer that one for you, sir.
no, I answered it this afternoon and I'll share with the public. We won't be putting on any extra police officers because of any development. We will continue to do what we do, and then we pretty much patrol that area anyway. Because as Steve's noted and Kyle has noted, city limits come around there, by the drive-in sign there between Mark Fletcher's place and the drive-in sign and around, so we customarily make the loop there. So, but anyway, those were the questions.
Okay.
Now, what is before us tonight?
This is a first reading, so you as city council would make the decision if you want to continue the debate for the annexation and possible rezoning and forward it to your second city council. And there could also be discussions or amendments to the request with whatever you may feel that city council wants to work out with the applicant. Typically, everything that I've ever brought for you makes it to second reading. It doesn't always get approved at second reading. My 9 years working for you, I've never seen anything not go to second reading, but that would be your call.
Well, are we doing, is it being proposed tonight to do the annexation and the rezoning?
The appeal was for that, yes, sir.
Because I thought when you and I talked today, you said it was only the annexation.
Well, that's what, since it got a negative recommendation from Planning Commission, that would be my recommendation to City Council, but I'm presenting you what the appeal was for.
Just to make sure I understand, it is a two-step process. Annexation comes in by default at R1,
Yes, sir.
and then the rezoning is the second step for the higher density.
Yes, sir. And typically, that would be the same process as the other property that's on the agenda tonight. They would go to Planning Commission and get a recommendation separate for rezoning, and then come back to you for a first and second reading.
But do we have the option to do the annexation but decline the rezoning?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, let me speak to that. The county, let's talk about just annexation purely. The county, since they have changed their density requirements for that particular lot, it requires 80,000 square feet if that property remains in the county, as I understand it, and then you'd only get one
That'd be correct.
home on there.
One single-family
It
home.
comes into the city, we require 7,500
At R1.
at R1.
R2 allows 6,000 for single-family.
Let's go with 7,500 right now. That means
Okay.
we can do 13, they could do 13 in there?
A maximum of 13,
So
yes,
there
sir.
is gonna be, if that's annexed, there is a potential for, may not be 32 townhomes, but it could be 13, but we don't know at this point in time.
Correct.
Okay.
But you'd be talking 13 versus 13 single family or up to, is it total, they're proposing 22, but the zoning will allow
33,
33?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
which I can't hold any
Yeah, we can't hold them to their proposed
Correct.
22, but legally they could go up to 33 if they could figure out how to put it in there,
Yes, sir.
if we rezone.
All right, what's the pleasure of the council?
Personally, based off of what I'm hearing from the community is, it's just me.
There's no also.
Well, we're gonna need a motion and a second, one way or the other, because we do have to follow the proper procedure. So if you wanna make that motion, or you wanna make it
I make motion with oppose.
to
No,
deny, to deny,
deny.
all right.
And this is on annexation?
Is this something?
Both for me.
Well,
We can do separate.
yes, they would have to be separate. If you deny the annexation, there's no need
There's no need
to
for
take
second.
action on the rezoning.
Okay.
You can't rezone it. You couldn't rezone it anyways at that point.
All right, and what I've heard is the law requires to give reasons why you're considering denial. What I heard you say was what the people are saying, traffic, safety, blasting, those things. Is that correct?
Traffic, biggest thing, because I think this has come up before out there on that road and the same problem. The road is not wide enough to carry the traffic.
Would that be better to with a resolution on how to fix it to gain this ability?
Well, we can't force them to do that.
That would be up to them.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. All right, further comments or questions among board members? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can I speak to it?
Sure.
Brian Keith, K&A Land Surveying, 1012 Sparta Pike, Lebanon. I'm here representing the owners of the property, and I just wanted to make a couple comments, if I could, to you guys, because I want you to understand what we're here doing tonight. There's been a lot of things said and a lot of things talked about that aren't on the agenda tonight. I know there's a lot of problems with any piece of property. It doesn't matter where someone wanted to develop, there's going to be problems. That's the world we live in. So just to get that out in the open, there's not a place that you can develop that there's not issues. Second, we're not here talking about what's going to be built tonight. This is not a meeting or a vote on what is actually going to be developed there. This is just to give them an opportunity to come up with something that they can do with that piece of property. Watertown is still going to have the ability to turn that down at the next step. There's no reason to turn it down now and not give them an opportunity to at least come up with something that might work, okay? That's why we would respectfully request to go to a second reading on these issues, because I think that'd be the right thing for everybody involved, to at least give them an opportunity to come up with something to present to you guys that might be okay in everybody's view. So that's all. I just wanted to quickly say that. I appreciate the time to talk, and I appreciate you guys.
I thought you might have spoken during the public hearing. I wasn't trying to ignore you.
Well, I thought that we were going to have an opportunity during, I apologize if I didn't.
Nah, no apology necessary. All right.
May I respond to that?
No, we're down, not being rude, but it's down to us. The developer gets the last word. Did your motion stand? Second stand? All right. You are,
Still
keep your
no.
second, yeah. All right. Discussion among us?
So this is just to pass the zoning
On
No,
first reading.
This is just to pass the annexation.
annexation to be able to do this, or to?
The coming from the planning commission side, annexation defaults to R1, which would be 13 units.
So if this passed, then there would be the ability to build 13 units.
It passes on two readings.
if it passes the second reading.
Yeah.
And the rezoning to high density would have to be a separate vote.
Further comments, further questions? All right, are you ready to vote? All right, the motion is a negative motion, so you're voting for the negative. If you want to deny the annexation, vote aye. If you don't want to deny it, vote no. So, all those in favor of denying the annexation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. The motion to deny gets 3 votes. The motion is 2 against it, but takes 4 to carry anything. So we haven't really accomplished anything here tonight. I was concerned about this when I saw the lease number, and I really thought that it might even seek to defer it till they could have a full house. But is there another motion?
I would like to make the motion that we annex the property under the R1 default zone.
Okay, is there a second to that? Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Okay, if you're for the annexation on first reading, this time vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. All those in favor of it say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
No. Still 2 to 3. We hadn't accomplished anything. What do we do, Christopher?
How does Watertown work in a situation where you can't get a vote? Can you forward things similarly with no recommendation to second reading? Or does it die for lack of a motion because it's an annexation request?
I don't know that we can say that it died because it didn't get 4 votes to defeat it. It didn't get 4 votes to pass it. So I don't know. I wish the city attorney was here. I think that's a question we need to pose to him.
I guess your next step, if it's not going to get a recommendation to go to second city council, I believe you all can defer it to come back to you next month and repeat first reading.
Okay, is there such a motion?
I'll make the motion to defer it and bring it back for a first reading in August.
Okay, discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, deferred till the next meeting.
Who made that second?
Kyle did, I think. All right, second, next meeting will be whatever the 3rd Tuesday is. Okay, now we need to go into public hearing for
What is the 3rd Tuesday?
the bond property.
All right, this is a consideration on second reading by City Council. The application is submitted by Lee Bond requesting a property that's currently in city limits to be rezoned from R1 residential to RM2 medium to high density residential. This property is located at 7411 Sparta Pike and contains approximately 4.07 acres. The property is further referenced as Wilson County Tax Map 127, Parcel 42. This is the public hearing portion for this request.
So we are in public hearing on the request of the Lee Bond property. This is on second and final reading and required to have a public hearing before that second reading vote, which we are doing now. Does anybody wish to speak on this? Jordan, we good? You stretch it? All right. Anybody? All right. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I have the same objection of the blasted because that's going to affect me too. That is rock. All of that area is solid rock. And I have the same objections, and it's right across from Beach Log Road. And those people trying to get out of Beach Log Road of the morning have the same problem I do. And if you have coming across from it there, both of them in the same, right there, face to face, it's the same thing. And also, the water, well, it doesn't affect me as much, well, it does, the water running off with all of that going on. My neighbor, I know my neighbor toward in Mr. Jones's house, they have done everything to keep the water, and it's going to compound that, because the more concrete you have, the less grass and things to absorb it, then you're gonna have it. And right now, and it's partly because of the flooding, when water comes off the road, it comes right into my front door, and whereas before it didn't. So that's gonna be another issue as the runoff of water. Now, the neighbors
I know where,
east of me are having it worse than I am,
yeah. I know where
because
you're
he
coming
spent no telling how much money just trying to get it taken care of.
from. All right. Thank you, Sue. Anybody else? All right, we're going to close the public comment. Christopher, talk to us about this one.
Okay, this is the rezoning request to go from R1 to R2. The current R1, and this property is inside city limits, would allow 17 single-family homes to be built on the property. An RM2 district would allow a possibility of 22, so it's an additional 5 lots. If developed in an apartment or townhome style, this would allow a maximum of 43. This property has got a significant slope on it, so it will be subject to what they're able to get via the sewer and water. Water on this property is Wilson County Wastewater Authority again. Sewer is City of Watertown, and it is a state route for roads. It'll also go before county stormwater requirements. We'll do the review for Watertown to make sure detention is handled on the property. The initial support proposal was for 34 units. Again, it'll hold a maximum of 43, but this is a straight zone district, so if they're able to fit the 43, that's what it will allow if accepted by Watertown Planning Commission. A subdivision plat or a site plan for a townhome or apartment development will have to be approved by the Watertown Planning Commission before construction or land disturbance can proceed.
All right, so this is not an annexation because
No,
it's
sir.
already in the city,
Correct.
but a rezoning from R1 to R2,
RM2.
or M2.
Which is just to give you all background on that, that's the exact same specifications as R2. RM2 does not allow manufactured homes of any type.
Did I understand you to say, and in its current condition right now, 17
17 single-family lots.
could be built?
Yes, sir.
This just increases the density, for lack of a better term, the number.
Yes, sir. And it allows the townhome use on the property.
All right. Are we, questions of Christopher? Are we ready to deliberate?
Can I get some clarification?
Sure.
Then Lee, these are directed to you. If I recall, when we did the first reading, you indicated that you were willing to upgrade the sewer pump system to have an 8-inch main.
Correct. I'm Lee Bond. Yeah, that's what we were looking into with.
It wouldn't be an 8-inch main, it would be upgraded to handle the extra capacity from the units on this property.
So,
8-inch force main would handle half the city of Lebanon. So that would be good.
so for clarification on it, whatever, my goal is not just to service what property. If we're going to do something to get the pump in and to get that, it should be, what my goal would be to get it to where if we ran it down, there's 4 different routes, and I think we had that in there.
Yeah.
Whatever route we go, our goal would be to have the ability to service the, either the church, the tire station, anybody that could get to our pump. They would have to get to our pump, but I would like for that to be well enough to where if they get to our pump, they can also have city sewer. And also, county water is an option, but so is city water. So once we have the ability to move forward, we were going to explore all of those avenues to see if we could use city water or county water. But yes, the goal when we put in what it takes to have the pump station would be to service not only our stuff, but whoever could hook on and get to that area, whether it be the tire station, the church there, or even that there's a home there, not whatever. That was the goal.
Other questions, comments? All right, are we ready to vote on this issue? Is there a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Okay, if not, I'm assuming we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That's approved on second reading. All right, we've got some more items to consider. I'm going to ask that we take about a 5-minute break, and I'm going to visit the restroom. Y'all spend your 5 minutes however you choose. Do what? No, we're done. Yeah, go. All right. I'm going to try again to call this meeting back to order. I actually called it back to order about 45 seconds ago. Nobody paid any attention, so let's try again. Just a couple of informational items. Our next scheduled meeting will be August 15th at 6 o'clock. And I'll remind you that school will be opening between now and then. Please drive safely. Please cooperate with the crossing guards, with our officers, whatever. Let's take care of our young ones. We're all worried about guns in schools and kids getting shot and that type of thing. But in a small town, it's just about as dangerous on the roads. So we want to make sure our people get taken care of. And our department will do a good job of doing that. We will go around the table, and Caleb, I believe we'll start with you tonight. All right, Cal? All right, Laura is not with us. Steve?
Don't really have anything. I'm just going to, as a reminder, because it kind of came up tonight when we were talking about the fire marshal.
Yeah.
Have we had any more discussions with Tom Freshair's group in the county about potentially having them upping our inspection, building inspection?
We have not. That needs to happen, but I'm sorry, I've been kind of bogged down. So, you want to talk about your food truck thing?
Well, I emailed the council members this past week. We have a growing amount of food trucks in Watertown, and not only for the special events like the Jazz Festival, but we also currently have one he's advertising he's open for lunch 5 days a week from like 11 to 2, and he actually has pretty good food. But along those lines, because these food trucks are not based in Watertown, therefore we do not get sales tax off of them. They pay sales tax for wherever their business is registered at. They don't have a business license with us, and I think we need to look at an ordinance to where they'll be subject to an inspection, and basically they have to get a vendor's permit to be in town, to do business in town. And the email I sent to other members of the council, I would like to pattern our ordinance off what currently exists for the city of Sparta. I looked at several cities, about 4 total, and I like what Sparta had. I think it fits us well. They're slightly larger than us, but unlike Murfreesboro or Smyrna or some of the other larger cities, we don't need the full detail like they had. So I'm hoping to bring that back next month in the form of an ordinance for us to review and consider. I just didn't have time to get the details together for this month.
I hope we will continue to pursue this. I don't want to, this is not for me, and I don't think it is for Steve either, an effort to go after the people in the food trucks. What it is for me is to make sure that all the people that provide food in the city of Watertown for profit are on a level playing field. And, some of our restaurants may start complaining that they have some expenses that the others don't have. I just want to make sure it's a level playing field.
Yeah, and that's my intent too, because one, we want to make sure that they have a current health inspection. Whether, it won't necessarily be from Watertown, but if they're based in Mount Juliet, then they need to have a health inspection from either the health department of Mount Juliet or Wilson County, Florida, whatever their home base is, that's current and valid. And some things in the regulations are like, you've got to be at a location where there's a restroom available not to the public, but a restroom that's available to the operators in the food truck, such as if they're sitting in the Bond construction parking lot down here, then they've got to have written permission from bonding company to be able to use their restrooms if they need to, because you can't have someone there, especially if they're all day, if they're doing a 4-hour lunch, it's one thing, but if they're gonna be there all day long, then they need to have access to facilities for the employees. And again, making sure they're current on their health inspection it's more to make sure that it's quality food and they're more on a level playing field and subject to the same inspections that our restaurants are. And it gives us more options for someone who, I live and work from home here in Watertown, and I get tired of sandwiches at home every day. I'd like to be able to go have some options to go get lunch somewhere that's not driving all the way to Lebanon.
I hope we'll take this up on first reading next time. Steve's done the preliminary work on it. Sounds like he's gonna do some more. I hope we'll take that up. And, you know, you folks that, I'm not picking on Mr. Bond over there, but y'all got one, and, you know, if you wanna have some input on this, let us know what you think's fair and what's not. And,
Now, Mike, one little bit I know about the concession is that as long as it's a one-day thing, you don't have to be inspected. That's like at the yard sale.
yeah,
Anybody that sets up and sells Friday and Saturday, they gotta have a health inspector.
yeah.
They gotta have two days in a row, they gotta be inspected. One day, they can sit up and not have an inspection.
I don't know, but certainly don't doubt
And
that.
Mike Forbes just told me that.
Okay.
That's why he don't do Friday and Saturday. He beats the health inspector. He just does it one day on Saturday, and you don't have to be inspected.
Okay,
The food truck that's set up on our lot does have access to our back.
okay. I think we can come up with something.
Something we gotta watch too, we start pricing the trucks out too much, and they're not coming.
Yeah.
And when the food is not showing up here in Watertown for these yard sales, the people's not gonna be here, because a lot of them come to eat the food.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's a two-way thing here.
Yeah, sure.
Really, but you gotta watch your pricing, you're gonna run something we've had here for how many years, and we hadn't had a problem.
Oh, we've had a yard sale for a lot of years,
And we've never had a problem.
Yeah.
So why do we have one now?
well,
That's something we need to look at.
yeah.
well, how did you read the attachment I had in the email with the
No,
Sparta?
I did not.
I would request that you read the Sparta ordinance. Well, I'm requesting that you do that before
But
you come back.
Sparta's a different size town too.
But my point I'm trying to make is if you read the ordinance, and the reason I chose Sparta, the language is in there to where the ordinance doesn't apply to special events being sponsored by the city, which would be the Jazz Festival and the yard sale. It varies depending on the number of times they're doing business in the city. And you have the option of getting a monthly permit or an annual permit. So there's a lot of details in that ordinance that I don't have time to go into because I don't have it in front of me, but I would, if you read that, I think we can come up with our version of that with changing it to meet our needs, which would benefit us.
I've always thought if it's not broken, you don't have to fix it.
All right, we'll take a look at it next time. Hopefully, you got anything else, Steve? Hal? Yeah.
Yes. I need you to check something for me. The sign, and I'm not complaining about the Mexican place, the one on the square, they put a sign up on the highway over there, coming out right in front of, 3/4 Market.
On Pearl Street.
And it's right in the way, and you cannot see to pull out over there. It's gonna be, somebody's gonna wreck over there because they can't see a car.
On the 3/4 side?
No, it's
Across the
Mexican.
street. Across the street.
Yeah, and it's right in the way where you cannot see the traffic.
Yes.
So,
Right on Pearl Street, when you come over the railroad tracks, going toward 3/4.
I need to get you to check that for me.
Yeah, let's keep everything safe. Anything else, Hal? Well, we'll start around with you next time. We'll start on that end. Anybody? All right, if y'all ready, oh, I thought you raised your hand. Okay. Is there a second to that? All right, everybody wants to adjourn, go home. If you don't want to adjourn, sit everybody yourself.